If you hood educated, I'm glad you made it. Allow me to unfold my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from a hood brother's point of view to all of you, here, there, and everywhere. Now check me out.
The man considered one of the most notorious criminals in Illinois history has just had his 6 life sentences commuted. Former gang leader Larry Hoover Sr. was convicted of ordering the 1973 killing of a 19-year-old drug dealer. Joining me here, NBC's Tom Winter. Officials say Hoover was continuing to direct gang-related activity from his prison cell. What happens now?
Yeah, so Chris, I mean, I think as far as his next step, he's not getting out of jail. It's not as if he's going to be having a homecoming in Chicago anytime soon. He's going to go back to Chicago or back to Illinois, but he'll be going to the state penitentiary system because he still has to serve out a life sentence for homicide. So his earliest parole date for that would be when he's approximately 110, 111 years old. So the chances of him getting out, at least currently, as things are set up, are probably very slim to non-existent. However, I think when people look at this case, they look at, okay, what is the impact on the victims of his crimes? And just to set up who this individual was, you referenced one of the most notorious, that was said in federal court, one of the most notorious criminals in Illinois history. I have to remind everybody, this is the state where Al Capone ran the Chicago outfit for a long period of time. He was referred to, Larry Hoover, as the chairman of the board, the king, 6 life sentences, sentenced federally. Federal prosecutors say he effectively controlled the drug trade in Chicago from the early 1970s until 1995, when he and a whole host of co-defendants were indicted in the case, and that he was directing this organization from state prison while he was there on this murder sentence. So that's one of the things that had them so concerned at the time, that he was still able to control it. This is more of a national organization at this point, but they certainly have strong ties to the Chicago area. We're talking about the Gangster Disciples, which is the gang that he led. We're not talking here, I'm not using the words alleged because a jury convicted him. Right. There is not a question here from the president as far as a pardon, as far as a kind of a removal of that guilt. It's just a sentence commutation. And so people, have been criticized online today. People have criticized any sort of reporting about this as being anti-Trump. That's not what I'm reporting about it. I'm just reporting about it from a standpoint, if you're a victim of a drug organization that was making $100 million in profit a year in drug trades, what would that impact be on you now that you're hearing that this individual is out? His cause was championed by Ye in a 2018 Oval Office appearance. When Ye was at the Oval Office, you're looking at an image from it here, he specifically talked about Larry Hoover and talked about his connection to Larry Hoover being the fact that they're both from the Chicago area. Ye said, look, this is somebody I could have been him, but ultimately, and Ye yesterday responded quite favorably to this decision. Ultimately, as far as Hoover is concerned, he is not going to be out of jail right away. He now gets transferred back to the state system in Illinois. It is a case that I think a lot of people in the law enforcement community are looking at. As you said, there's some indications from the Bureau of Prisons that he has not renounced his gang affiliation. So I think a lot of people are going to continue to follow this case.
Tom Winter, thank you.
I'm free to hug my family. I'm free to start over. This is the greatest day of my life. My heart is just bursting with gratitude. I want to thank President Donald John Trump.
Almost all people said that criminal justice reform would never pass. But we came together as a group, we worked across party lines, and we got it done.
I'm an example of a woman who has been given a second chance in life. God bless you, and God bless America. Good evening. I'm Alice Marie Johnson. I was once told that the only way I would ever be reunited with my family would be as a corpse. But by the grace of God and the compassion of President Donald John Trump, I stand before you tonight, and I assure you, I'm not a ghost. I am alive. I am well. And most importantly, I am free. In 1996, I began serving time in prison, life plus 25 years. I had never been in trouble. I was a first-time nonviolent offender. What I did was wrong. I made decisions that I regret. Some say, you do the crime, you do the time. However, that time should be fair and just. We've all made mistakes. None of us want to be defined forever based on our worst decision. While in prison, I became a playwright, a mentor, a certified hospice volunteer, an ordained minister, and received the Special Olympics Event Coordinator of the Year award for my work with disabled women. Because the only thing worse than unjustly imprisoning my body is trying to imprison my mind. My transformation was described as extraordinary. Truth is, there are thousands of people just like me who deserve the opportunity to come home. I never stopped fighting for my freedom. My Christian faith and the prayers of so many kept hope alive. When President Trump heard about me, about the injustice of my story, he saw me as a person. He had compassion, and he acted. Free in body thanks to President Trump, but free in mind thanks to the Almighty God. I couldn't believe it. I always remembered that God knew my name, even in my darkest hour, but I never thought a president would. When I was released on June 6, 2018, I ran across that road and hugged my grandchildren for the first time. I'll never forget that feeling. And then I remembered the promise I had made to the men and women I left behind, that I would never stop fighting for them, and I haven't. I'm using my voice to tell their stories, and I pray that my face reminds you of those forgotten faces. 6 months after President Trump granted me a second chance, he signed the First Step Act into law. It was real justice reform, and it brought joy, hope, and freedom to thousands of well-deserving people. I hollered, hallelujah! My faith in justice and mercy was rewarded. Imagine getting to hug your loved ones again, and to think this first step meant so much to so many. I can't wait because we're just getting started. The nearly 22 years I spent in prison were not wasted. God had a purpose and a plan for my life. I was not delayed or denied. I was destined for such a time as this. I pray that you will not just hear this message, but that you will be inspired by my story, and your compassion will lead you to take action for those who are forgotten. That's what our president, Donald Trump, did for me. And for that, I will be forever grateful. God bless you. God bless President Trump. And God bless America. Thank you.
That lady right there, that sister, she is the one that had Donald Trump commute Larry Hoover's sentence. And as you heard her story, you know, she'd been through some stuff and she was sentenced to all that time in prison. And, you know, Donald Trump put her in position in his cabinet to help deal with, you know, men being imprisoned unjustly. And so she thought it in her mind that, hey, look, this is Mr. Larry Hoover. You know, he ain't killed nobody. I mean, contrary to people's belief, he's not locked up for murder where he pulled a gun out and shot somebody and blew somebody's head off. He ain't killed nobody. But, you know, they're saying that he orchestrated, or I shouldn't even say orchestrated. They said that, you know, he gave the order, hey, go kill him right there. You know, they saying that Larry Hoover put the order in to have some guy named Pookie killed because Pookie supposedly was stealing drugs and stuff like that from the Gangster Disciples back in 1973. Pookie was shot dead, shot multiple times and found dead in the alley, right? And so a lot of people say, well, man, how did Hoover even get caught up in this? Well, Hoover's co-defendant, a man who goes by the name of Andrew Howard, from my understanding, now y'all can get in the comments and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, he was the one that told the police everything. Yeah, I killed him because Larry Hoover told me to kill Pookie because Pookie stole drugs from us and that was a no-no and we had to kill him, right? Now, that's the reports that I'm getting right there. Now, for those of you who are in the know, if you want to correct me, hey, get in the comments and correct me, but that's just the understanding that I get. And so that's how Larry Hoover ended up catching the state case, which gave him 150 to 200 years in prison. The cold-blooded part about all that is this right here. His co-defendant, the one that told on him, got 150 to 200 years in prison. But what makes his cold is that he been released decades ago. You see? He been released. He out decades ago. And so when Larry Hoover's sentence got commuted by way of Donald Trump and by way of the sister that Donald Trump put in his cabinet to take care of all unjust convictions, a lot of people entertain the thought of their mind that Larry Hoover will be released. Why? Because his co-defendant was released. Once the federal sentence was commuted and then he headed back to the state, a lot of people believe that, okay then, well, his co-defendant is out. Why ain't Larry Hoover out? Well, the reason why Larry Hoover is not out right now is because they are saying that he still has influence. They are still saying that in some Gangster Disciple fractions that he still have a strong influence where he can tell them to go kill somebody and they will go do that, and that's why they don't want to let him loose. But not only that though, they are saying that everything that he has done, I'm talking about all the bad things that he has done to the black community, that is going to open up a sore wound and people are going to be crying and people are going to be sad and people are going to be angry because Larry Hoover is released, right? And so those are the grounds that they are trying to keep him in prison. You see what I'm saying? And I got to say this right here, just to be 100. The man been locked up for 900 years. I'm talking about, man, the man's 73 years old, 74 years old. I mean, what are you going to do? And truth be told, I mean, if he still was the leader of the Gangster Disciples, I don't see that. Because the way these kids ripping and running and stuff like that, and the way these kids is doing stuff, you know what I mean? No, you know, I couldn't see somebody in their right mind that is trying to get out of prison and that had the power that they are saying that he has, that he would be agreeing with them to still be out there selling dope, committing crimes, and doing things bad to the black community and stuff like that. If he had power, he would have been said, hey, listen, check this out. Y'all honor me? Okay, stop. You see? And he done said this. He done said it numerous times. He done denounced his affiliation with the Gangster Disciples. And then he even said, hey, listen, check this out. Don't do nothing wrong in my name. You see what I'm saying? If you calling yourself growth and development and you doing something that's against the law, then you ain't doing what I want you to do. Don't use my name to commit crimes. You see what I'm saying? He done already denounced all that. But that's not enough though for the government. You know, they don't care about all that. You know, they basically want that man to die in prison. You see? Now, look, y'all know I'm not about, you know, gang bangers and stuff like that. But I am about redemption. You see? So if somebody done did some wrong in they past and then they making a real effort, I'm talking about you can see that they making a real effort to change and has changed, then come on, man, give that man a fair shake. Give him a second chance. Give him a shot at it. You see? And the reason why I feel that way is because, look, who am I to speak? I was a low down dirty dog once upon a time. I'm talking about I was one of them little bad boys out there in the neighborhood, toting pistols, shooting things, spray painting all on the wall, being disrespectful, full of that mountain lion kush, drinking, driving, you know, just wilding. I'm talking about everything that is bad, that is wrong, disrespectful to women, all that. I was a mess. You see? But I done redeemed myself. I done changed my evil ways into things that are positive. And I try to use what I went through, what I've been through, to educate the youth in the classic, right? Just so they can know, hey, wait a minute, hold on. This is somebody hood educated, was there. He participated. So if I can't learn from him, I can't learn from nobody. I'm not giving you book knowledge. I'm not giving you something that I done read about and say, okay, yeah, no. I participated. I was there. I seen it, heard it, felt it. You see? And I'm going the other way. I'm going the right way. Right mind. Right thinking. Right actions. Right ideas. That's what I believe that he's on. I don't believe that he's on that bull jive no more. I believe that he is on things that are going to change the minds of people. The blueprint, the growth and development demonstration. I mean, like, for those of you who, you know, that don't know the understanding of that right there, like, that's totally different from, you know, what he started out as doing. You see? And a lot of the guys that I know, you know what I'm saying, that are growth and development are hard-working, tax-paying citizens. Got non-profit organizations and stuff like that, uplifting the youth. And these guys once was GDs, but now they growth and development. You see what I'm saying? Like, we got to understand okay, people do make mistakes, right? But when people try to redeem themselves, and when people do redeem themselves, then we gotta allow them to do that. We can't just judge people from what they did, especially if they are changing, and they have changed, and they are showing change. You see what I'm saying? Now, in this situation right here, Donald Trump, of all peoples, commuted his sentence. A gang leader. I mean, he must believe in his mind that Larry Hoover has changed. You see? But the state of Chicago, you know, as of now, they are still under the impression that he hasn't changed. And they still want to keep him in prison. You see? And look, let me say this right here. Y'all know my background is almighty unknown vice lord. Y'all know that. And our arch enemies, I'm talking about enemy number one, is GDs. Before anybody, GDs was our main enemies. But I'm free Larry Hoover all day long. Free that man. The man's 70-some years old. The man done changed his thinking. You see? And being that he done did all that, come on. It almost makes me think that, I mean, like, being that he done changed his thinking from negative to positive, it almost appeared that the government is terrified not of what he did when he was doing wrong. They cool with that. Why? Because that's going to send more kids to the penitentiary. They all right with that. They probably scared of, wait a minute, he finna change the minds of these young black kids to be positive. That means ain't no more people flooding the penitentiary. And one of the largest black gangs in the United States of America is GD. You see? So if he got that type of power.
Dad.
Yes.
Is there no the power that raises the power?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the power of Larry Hoover. I'm doing my video. Can I finish my video?
Yeah, I don't know the power. No, the coming no the power, no order to treat.
Okay. Well, go continue your game and let me finish talking to the hood educated residents, okay?
Okay, I want to get
Okay, play another game. Go ahead. Okay. Y'all gotta excuse me. I'm on daddy duty and I'm giving y'all this knowledge, right? But at the same time, let's get back to it, right? If he got the power, right? I'm talking about to change the minds of these kids. Whew. You talking about a whole community of tax-paying citizen children, little kids, black kids? Oh, man. Oh, they don't want to see nothing like that. They want us to be getting locked up. They want us to be in jail and stuff like that. I believe they scared of that. You see? But allow me to say this right here before I depart. It makes sense that if the federal government, this is above the state, says, hey, look, we're commuting his sentence, that the state should do the same. That's how they normally do it. Whenever a federal law passes or something federal passes, the state just falls in line. You see what I'm saying? It don't go state to federal. It goes federal down to state. But they on that bull jive. And they ain't trying to turn that brother loose. And the cold-blooded part about all that is this right here. Since he left the federal prison and went into the state prison, Larry Hoover done had 3 heart attacks. Check it out. My father has suffered multiple heart attacks from being forced to perform hard labor despite his age and medical conditions, said his son Larry Hoover Jr. in a statement to ABC News. All he wants now is to come home, spend what time he has left with his family, and use his experience to help bring peace to the same communities he once came from. Detractors, including some former prosecutors, law enforcement officials, and community anti-violence advocates, argue that Hoover's release could reopen wounds in Chicago neighborhoods, still scarred by gang violence. They maintain that despite his renunciations, Hoover's name still holds symbolic power among some Gangster Disciple fractions. Chicago FBI Special Agent in Charge Doug DePodesta said in a statement to WLS in Chicago in May that Larry Hoover caused a lot of damage in Chicago. He was also convicted on state charges and is likely to continue serving his time in state prison where he belongs. I be trying to tell you, young brothers, and just brothers and sisters, period. You do not want to get under the iron hand oppression of a felony or any criminal background because, listen, the people that put you away, the police and the prosecutors and stuff, they do not forgive. They don't care about clemency and none of that type of stuff. They want to keep you in prison for the remainder of your life or for the remainder of your sentence. They don't play like that. They look, the man is old and they still saying the man should be in prison. Now let's continue on. His supporters countered that his transformation and the decades he has already served show a man committed to peace, not power. In his own words, Hoover wrote, "I want my legacy to be peace. I want my name to mean growth, not destruction. I want to be remembered not as who I was, but as who I fought to become. Cold-blooded demonstration. After more than 5 decades in prison, including over 25 years in isolation, Hoover said there is no chance he would reoffend, noting that most men his age devote their final years to steering others away from crime. He said he hopes to spend his remaining time honoring a promise he made to his late mother, not to waste his final years. And the cold-blooded part about that is that them prosecutors and polices and stuff like that, man, they don't care about none of that. They don't care about no promises that you made to your mother, your family, your children. They don't care. All they see is what you did, and they sticking to that demonstration right there. In his letter, Hoover expressed deep remorse for the harm his past actions caused, saying he had wasted his talents on choices that hurt Chicago, his community, and society. He emphasized that he has long renounced all ties to the Gangster Disciples and any form of criminal activity, declaring that he wants nothing to do with that life, now and forever. I am no longer the Larry Hoover people sometimes talk about, or he who is written about in the papers, or the crime figure described by the government, he wrote. That man has over these many years transformed into the man I am today. It is true that some men never learn, or that prison makes some into monsters. I've seen it. But for me, over time, this prison in particular, became a place of reflection. Now, we got to understand something. The reason why everything is coming out now about his health and his age and stuff like that is because now Larry Hoover done filed a petition to the governor of Illinois and is trying to get some clemency. Now, let's move on. Now, here is something that his lawyer had written in the newspaper. He says, since that transfer to the Colorado State Penitentiary earlier this year, his attorney says Hoover has suffered 3 heart attacks while performing prison labor, the most recent in September. They described in a newly filed legal petition with the prison board his condition as fragile and his treatment as a slow, state-sanctioned death sentence. Cold-blooded demonstration, man. Allow me to say this right here, y'all. That's why you just don't want to get caught up in the prison system or none of that. Because they don't care. If they gave you life, they mean life. They don't care about you dying slowly or none of that type of stuff. So I advise all you young brothers, all you classic brothers, young sisters, classic sisters, try your hardest to stay away from the penitentiary, to stay away from the criminal judicial system as a whole, period. Y'all see what I'm saying? Cold-blooded demonstration. This man right here is compelled to work in a state prison and done had 3 heart attacks since he left the federal institution. Now, a lot of y'all probably saying like, what's the difference? Let me explain to y'all what's the difference, right? The difference is this right here. Slavery still exists right now today in 2025. It never went nowhere. It never went nowhere. The 13th Amendment allowed, you know what? I'm going to read it for you. Check it out. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. 13th Amendment, United States Constitution. Do y'all understand that? So slavery ain't never left. Slavery is punishment now for all those who catch felonies. Period. Cold-blooded demonstration. See, a lot of people don't understand that about the 13th Amendment. A lot of people believe in their mind that, oh, wait a minute, slavery been abolished. No, it ain't. It ain't went nowhere. It's still here. As I just read, you seen it. You commit a crime, you can be a slave. You see, if you get a felony and you go to the penitentiary, they gonna slave you in that penitentiary. And that's what they do. And that's what's happening to Larry Hoover. Now, when you see that the 13th Amendment didn't really abolish slavery and that slavery still exists when you go to the penitentiary, it makes you think, damn, it makes sense now. No wonder the black community is being over-policed. They need slaves. Yeah. No wonder, black people are convicted more than anybody else. No wonder black people get more time for the same crimes as other people, but they get way more time. They need slaves. Yeah, it ain't went nowhere. But not only that, for those of you who don't know anything about how institutions or prisons is ran, they got a thing called no work, no play. When I first started doing my time, look, if you didn't have a job in the prison, if you wasn't slaving, what they call a job, if you wasn't slaving in prison, you could still go out on the yard and play. You can get on the phone. You can go by your canteen and you can, stay out in the daytime on the flag, on the yard. You was able to do everything everything was given to you. They said, nah, we need more people to slave. So what they did was they said, no, if you don't slave, you don't get to play. And what that means is, if you don't slave, you only get to come out your cell 1 hour a day. And in that 1 hour, you got to shower. If you want to cook something, you got to cook. If you need to get on the phone, you got to get on the phone. If you need to wash clothes, you got to get on. You got to do all this within the hour, right? And so some of you say, well, hey, that's cool. You take a 5-minute shower, you take a this, that, and that, and you can get that. No, it don't work like that. Because you in a building with 200 more people, 150 people. And so everybody is in line for the phone. Everybody is in line for the shower. Everybody is in line trying to cook. You see what I'm saying? Everybody. And then you get to go outside once every 2 weeks, once a week, once a month in some places, right? And you only get an hour outside. And when you go outside, you in a cage or something like that. Like you don't really get to play. You just get to smell some air a little bit and then you got to go back in. Day over with. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what they doing with Larry Hoover. If you want to come out your cell, Mr. Larry Hoover, if you want to talk on the phone, if you want to, have the regular things that everybody else have, you got to work. Yeah, we don't care if you 70-some years old. We don't care if you got medical conditions or all that. We gonna slave you till you die. You see what I'm saying? And that's what's going on. And that's why this brother done had 3 heart attacks. He wasn't having them heart attacks over there in the feds. Why? Because he was in his cell 23 hours a day. He ain't had to go nowhere. He ain't had to put no strain on his body. But now he in the state penitentiary. No, if you want to come out that cell, you got to work. You got to do something. You got to stand for hours. You got to pick up stuff, drop stuff off. No. You see? And again, like I say, hundreds of people. So he got to wait in line to get the phone. He got to do this. He got to wait to clean his clothes, all type of stuff. The Gangster Disciples back then is not the Gangster Disciples of today. You know, even though he's in the state prison, they probably don't even respect him like that. Or they might do, though. Don't get me wrong. You see? But being that he's on something different, he don't even want that respect like that because he understands how the institution is going to look at it. If he get caught congregating, laughing, high-fiving, or anything with some GDs, they going to say, look, look, you see that? He's still with them. He's still directing traffic. He telling them what to do. Nope, we're going to keep you in there. So I can see him as a smart man, intelligent. He like, nah, back up, y'all. I'm finna go to church. I'm finna go to the temple. I'm finna go to the mosque. I'm finna back up off me. You know, I want to hang with the Muslims or the Moors or the 5%ers or the Christians, the Hebrews, whatever, you know, whatever he prescribed to religiously. I can see him saying, no, I'm over here with this thing. But the cold-blooded part about that, though, in prison, that stuff right there is gang-related, too. You see what I'm saying? And what I mean by that, these brothers can be pure in their heart, trying to change their life. But the prison institution is saying, no, that's for gangs. These brothers in here, hey, you know, praying to Allah, you know what I'm saying? Doing the 5%er thing, praying to the Most High, whatever. And the prison is saying, nah, that's gang activity. Don't be fooled. So he really caught up in the catch-20. He can't do nothing. All he really can do is go to work to show that, hey, look, you know, I'm trying to better myself. And in trying to better himself and trying to prove himself to the prison system, they killing him. 3 heart attacks. The man just got commuted. He ain't been over there but a couple of months. That's a cold-blooded demonstration. I mean, come on now. Now look. I know a lot of people probably don't agree. A lot of people are probably saying, you know, he should be in jail because he killed somebody in 1973. And like I said before, I'm free Larry Hoover. The murder that happened, rest in peace to that brother Pookie. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with that part right there either. But like they say, he wasn't nowhere around. He ain't had nothing to do with that. Somebody else did the murder, but then said that he gave the order. You see? And according to law, that's conspiracy. According to law, that's accountability theory, because that's what they used to lock him up. And that's just how it go. But for being locked up that long, as long as he been locked up ever since 1973, and it's 2025, yeah, I'm talking about, I think that's enough time. Some of y'all might disagree, but hey, look, we all have our own opinions, and we all have our own thoughts. This is Hood Educated, not Lame Related. Peace and love, and y'all take care of yourself out there. If I said anything that caused you to think, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And if you're feeling generous, please make a small donation to the channel. Peace and love.